An amazing deal right now. Get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
Since 1963, Takeuchi has been a pioneer in the compact construction industry, having developed the world's first compact excavator in 1971 and the world's first compact rubber track loader in 1986. Takeuchi continues to revolutionize the industry through innovative technology and listening to customer needs. Now you can partner with a truly global leader by contacting TEC Rental Equipment in West Columbia, Orangeburg, and Somerville. From world first to world leader, Takeuchi.
Plumber near me.
Hey, we can help.
Weird. Only big companies.
No, we're only 2 miles away. Can you not see us?
Nope, they can't see you yet. Get Cumulus Boost and get on the map. CumulusBoost.com.
Hit us up on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100.
Your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia, 107.5 The Game. Also heard on 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach and 100.5 The Game in Florence.
Football Friday.
Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling on the Game Network. The Extra Point with your hosts Tyler Head and Jack Veltri from Gamecock Central.
Sponsored by Beat Ale Wine, Pool and Spa
on the Game Network. And don't forget to download the 107.5 The Game app.
Talk about the turnover battle as well, and we always talk about the turnover battle. The bye week was no different, and that'll be critical for this game as well. If you look at SEC conference games, A&M is number one in the SEC in turnover margin in SEC-only games. They've only turned the ball over 3 times in SEC play this season. So we've got to be able to get some turnovers on Saturday night. We've got to do a good job of protecting the football as well and not putting them in favorable positions as well. And
welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you on your Football Friday. Coach Beamer last night on Carolina Calls talking about what's a key to every single game that the Gamecocks play, that being the turnover margin. And specifically when you're talking about defense, in the Beamer era, they are 1-8 in games that they do not generate a takeaway. The only exception being the Dukes Mayo Bowl against North Carolina in his first season. And we know if they're not generating takeaways, they're usually giving up a lot of yards and a lot of points in that process. So big key tomorrow is turning over an A&M offense that doesn't really like to turn the ball over a whole lot.
Yeah, and you got to force them into some tough situations to make mistakes possible, right? I think the way you do that is through the air, because A&M has been awesome on the ground this year. Le'Veon Moss, great running back, one of the better ones in the SEC. Marcel Reed can really run well with his legs. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns against LSU last week on the ground. So you know they're going to try to run it first. And I think a big key for South Carolina, and they talk about this, the players and stuff, they try to punch the ball out. Like, when they're going in for a tackle, it's trying to knock the ball out. And that's something that they did a great job of against Oklahoma, forcing 6 fumbles. Obviously, they didn't recover all of them. But the fact that you're getting the ball out that much really shows, like, hey, you can actually go out there and make those types of plays. But obviously through the air is where you would really like to get A&M beat, because they are not the best passing offense. And I like South Carolina's chances if they can go out into coverage. But again, like you said, they're going to need some turnovers in this game. And the last thing you want is South Carolina having 2 or 3 mistakes of its own and then having nothing from A&M, because that's really where you lose this game.
No, we still don't officially know which quarterback we're going to see tomorrow. Mike Elko, as you would expect, is playing it very close to the vest. I would assume Marcel Reed's probably going to be the starter, but there's still a very good chance we could see Connor Wakeman at some point in the game. And, of course, Wakeman is the better thrower of the two. That being said, he's only thrown 4 interceptions this year. They only have 6 total turnovers. But in the 4 interceptions he's thrown, they've all moved with the clean pocket. We talked about this yesterday. He struggles completing passes when he's pressured, but his turnovers and turnover-worthy throws are all coming when he actually has time to sit back there and let things develop. So he's making bad decisions even when he doesn't have pressure on him. They've just been fortunate to not be turned over nearly as much as they possibly could have been.
And my question is, and this is something that I think we'll figure out obviously in the game tomorrow, how does A&M, if they are going to run a 2-quarterback system, how are they going to do that? You know what I mean? Because it's not like it's one thing if Wegman's kind of similar to Reed in the fact that, yeah, he's a passer first, but he can also run a little bit. How does that kind of work? Because when you put Wegman in, it's kind of like you're going to expect him to throw more times than not.
I think Wes is the one that brought this up yesterday. I think it's a really good point. Let's go back to last week against LSU. They're down 17-7 in the third quarter. Again, offense really isn't doing a whole lot. LSU missed a couple of opportunities to really break the game wide open. They get the interception, and they're set up on their 8 or 10-yard line or something like that going in to score. And that is Marcel Reed's first play of the game, where they're near the goal line, and he runs the zone read, takes it in for a touchdown. I wonder, and again, this is the point that Wes brought up, if that was just a one-play thing, saying, all right, we're near the goal line, we need a spark, let's bring in the guy that can use his feet and see what happens. Obviously scores the touchdown, and from there, they're like, well, let's throw him out there for the next drive and see what happens. And again, the offense kept scoring and kept scoring and kept scoring. So I don't know if that was truly we're done with Wegman for this game, let's just get Marcel Reed out there for the rest, or if it was, let's just go one play at a time and see what happens. And again, the offense never slowed down. They scored on every possession but the one where they kneeled out the clock, and they just kept riding the wave of momentum. So I would not be shocked if Wegman did start tomorrow, but if he does, I imagine he's going to be on a very short leash.
I agree with you because I hear everyone talking about, oh, Marcel Reed's going to start, Marcel Reed this, Marcel Reed that. I feel like we're not talking enough about Wegman because, look, I think the thing is everyone's expecting Reed to start, right? But what if they throw Wegman out there first? How does that impact things? And I think that gives A&M kind of an advantage if you don't start Reed right away. You let Wegman go out there, make some throws, and then look, if he's struggling, like you said, I expect a short leash, then you turn it over to Reed. At the same time, I don't know what to expect with that, right? It's like if Wegman's rolling, I think that helps A&M, but if he's not, it's going to benefit South Carolina because, hey, when Reed comes in, you know something's going to be different, and you're going to expect him to run. It just – you have to be ready for the pass because we know Reed can throw it a little bit at least. He may not have a ton of stats in terms of passing, but he hasn't thrown an interception yet this year. So that's going to be something really interesting to watch is how Mike Elko uses those guys. Yeah,
and look, if it is Reed, look, they're going to try and run the ball down your throat. And I went back and looked at the numbers. When Reed is under center, they are a 60-40 run-to-pass team. When Connor Wegman's under center, they're exactly 50-50. They run 140 run plays on 140 pass plays with him at quarterback. So it really does change the dynamic of what their offense is. So if Reed is in at quarterback, you got to take away the run and force him to beat you with his arm. Again, he made some good throws, the two that he completed last week against LSU, but when he's continuing to throw the football, he's right around 50% completion. Yes, he's not thrown an interception yet, but the more he continues to throw the ball, the more he probably will end up putting it in harm's way if his throws are not accurate. So that's the key if he's your quarterback tomorrow, to force him into beating you with his arm. At the same time, if Wegman's starting tomorrow or Wegman's playing tomorrow, take the pass away and force them at that point, being just with Le'Veon Moss, to beat you on the ground.
No, totally. And I don't know which one you'd rather face, honestly. I think you'd rather face Wegman, to be honest, because, look, if he beats you through the air, if any of these guys beat you through the air, okay, whatever. Tip your cap to A&M. But I think if you can get Wegman to pass and he's struggling a bit, that kind of like helps you a little bit in terms of like, yeah, it's just Le'Veon Moss out there and the other running backs. There's no threat of Marcel Reed, but like I do expect him to get in there a good bit. I'm with you on it. I think Wegman would probably start, and then you get Reed in there. I just think it makes more sense to start with Wegman as opposed to bringing him in later, because you bring him in later, maybe it's because Reed's struggling, but if Reed's on his game, there's no point in bringing Connor Wegman in.
I think back to, and funny enough, this is happening against when they played Texas A&M, but what Florida was trying to do earlier on this year with Graham Mertz and DJ Lagway, where they had set drives where they were each going to play. You can't manage it this way. It is all based off of feel. If you think you're going to start the quarterback that you think gives you the best opportunity to win the game, that's the precipice of why you do that. But if things start going the other way, you know you have a viable option that runs a different type of offense to be able to put in there and hopefully give you that kind of spark. And as we've seen in the past, sometimes the spark is Reed one week, and this week it could end up being Weigman. We don't really know. Don't forget, Weigman balled out against Missouri a couple weeks ago. He has shown you this season that he has the capability of being very efficient through the air. He just wasn't that last week against a pretty capable LSU defense. So I know, again, we've been focusing on Marcel Reed this entire week, but don't count out Weigman because you very well could see him tomorrow.
No, most definitely. And I don't think this is going to be like a Florida situation like you brought up before. I think that'd just be really ridiculous if you're doing something like that. Stick with your guns at the start. If Weigman is your guy and he's playing well at the start, great. Keep him in there. And then you can kind of incorporate Reed in as you would like. I think that is going to be, if A&M's going to win this game, I think that's how they do it, is get Reed in there for specific situations. That way you can kind of throw South Carolina off. But we'll have to see. And again, I think the biggest thing is get in the backfield, create pressure, force Weigman into some tough throws. And if he makes them, again, it is what it is. But you really hope this secondary can match up well against these receivers.
Gamecocks and Aggies kick off tomorrow night at 7:30. Pregame coverage starting with myself and Terry Ford for Gamecocks game day at 2:30 out at the party lot at Sound and Images. Jack joins us at the end of every show to give his keys and final thoughts ahead of the game as well. It's all sponsored by Lex Med Orthopedics, again, at the party lot at Sound and Images right there on Bluff Road outside the stadium. Other things going on around college football, a lighter slate of SEC play, but some very important games nonetheless. With some of those coming up next, it is Tyler Head and Jack Veltri on the Extra Point on your Football Friday here on The Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Powered by Integrated Media. The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Get a great deal on versatile Kubota equipment today. Like the Kubota L-Series compact tractor, the #1 selling compact tractor in the U.S., Z-Series mowers, and Sidekick utility vehicles. Stop by your local Kubota dealer today. Right now, bring home select Kubota equipment for 0 down, 0% APR for up to 60 months, plus save up to $300. Now through December 31st. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Stop by Pioneer Farm Equipment in Orangeburg, 1 mile off of I-26 exit 154B, or at PioneerFarmSC.com.
Want to get lucky? It's your lucky day, Gamecocks, because Lucky's Pine Straw now offers mulch, in addition to our quality longleaf pine straw. Hosting the big games watch party? Why not invite us over first? We'll help you get your yard ready for the big game. Give us a call at 803-360-4850 or stop by 3119 Sunset Boulevard in West Columbia. This season, score a touchdown with Lucky's. Luckies, Lucky's Pine Straw.
Strengthening the lives of children and families is a passion. Turn that passion into results as a child welfare case manager. Learn more at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services.
I'm Russell Ott. If you're like most people I talk to, you're just tired of the nonsense in politics. It's getting harder and harder to really know where candidates stand on the issues. Politicians seem to pledge their allegiance to parties rather than people. All the silly games do nothing to help families and businesses that are struggling to pay the bills. It's time to push back on politics as usual and get back to common sense solutions that work. That's how we create a stronger South Carolina. I'm Russell Ott, and I'm asking for your vote for state senate so I can get to work for you.
Paid for by Ott for Senate.
Hey, this is Jen Jensen for CHW Cabinetry. My family is using CHW Cabinetry, and they are fantastic to work with. They make sure you're satisfied with every step of the process. Not only do their photorealistic renderings show exactly what your new space will look like, their job site guarantees everyone is on the same page, literally. Experience the CHW difference for yourself. Go to chwcabinetry.com to see more, or call them at 803-520-6837, and be sure to tell them Jen Jensen sent you. CHW Cabinetry, passion from inspiration to installation.
I'm here with the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder of First Palmetto Bank. Jacob, tell me more about this 4.99% 30-year fixed product you are offering in Richland County.
We have a community reinvestment product in the areas of Richland County.
Blythewood, Northeast, Southeast, and the I-20 corridor are areas that we're offering the 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. We are underserving these areas, so the bank is offering 100% purchase loans at 4.99% on a 30-year fixed. No points, no mortgage insurance, no gimmicks, just lower payments.
4.99% is awesome. What's a payment look like?
Yes, Bill. A payment on $200,000 at that APR is at $1,072 a month for 360 months. A payment on $300,000 is at $1,608. These estimates do not include taxes and insurance. These loans are only for primary residences, and the loan amounts are capped at $300,000. Call me today. My number is 803-719-1005, or you can email me at jcrowder@firstpalmetto.com. All loans are subject to credit approval and property appraisal. First Palmetto Bank is a member of the FDIC and an equal housing lender. My NMLS number is 198432.
Kickstart your day at 9 a.m. with your Carolina Pick-Me-Up. Sponsored by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you're injured, call all nines today.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-999.
Game day, game day, game day. Be ready for game day with the monsters of the Mellow Mushroom Gridiron. Get to the line of Shroomage. Take the snap and order all your Mellow favorites, like fresh mouth-watering spring water dough pizza baked on the stone, monumental hoagies, hot pretzels, wings, meatballs, fresh crisp salads, and over 100 beers from around the world. Dine in, order online, or call ahead for takeout. Then head to the game or the sofa. The Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass. Football Friday.
Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach. The Game Network.
Laying the Wood.
Sponsored by Georgia Pacific.
Georgia Pacific is now accepting applications. Entry-level and skilled positions available. Great growth potential.
Georgia Pacific.
Four-man rush. Rogers to the end zone. And Wilson. Can he one-hit it and stay in bounds? They say he was out.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points Hour. And Jack Belcher along with you here on your Football Friday. Time for our Lay in the Wood segment brought to you by our friends over at Georgia Pacific. Lay in the Wood last night. That was the call on Amazon Prime as the New York Jets, surprisingly, beat the Houston Texans 21-13 up there in the Meadowlands. And I got to give credit to the Jets defense for this one. They held C.J. Stroud to under 200 yards, 11 of 30 passing for one of the more promising young quarterbacks in the NFL, as it seemed like the Jets were trending in the right direction, if only for one night.
Who is C.J. Stroud throwing to?
That's very true. That's very true.
Nico Collins out. Now I have Tank Dell in fantasy, so I respect Tank Dell. And Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz. Those are the only three guys C.J. Stroud got to throw to yesterday. He doesn't have Stephon Diggs.
Yep.
So, look, yeah, the Jets won, but they also – I mean, look, the Texans were not fully healthy, so play them later in the year. I think the Texans probably win. But look, the Jets, let's give credit where it's due. They needed this win. Rodgers, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't have, like, the greatest night, but he did enough. The run game was all right. And, look, Garrett Wilson, that catch. I've seen people compare it to the Odell catch from 10 years ago. I don't know if it's better than Odell's catch, because Odell straight up one-handed that in the corner of the end zone.
Odell defied a lot of laws of physics with that catch. I will still give him the nod on that one.
That was a one-of-one type of catch. And he had to go back, and it's like that catch is like still talked about to this day,
right?
Like it just happened. Garrett Wilson, we'll talk about it for a bit.
It was good. Don't give him credit.
Yeah. It's not as good as the other one. But anyway, point being, Devontae Adams had a good night. Wilson had a good night. The Jets needed this win. Still a long way to go, but hey, they finally snapped their losing streak.
Yeah, so the Jets brought the wood last night and helped themselves to a victory that they very much needed. Looking ahead to the SEC slate for this upcoming weekend, a little bit lighter. You do have LSU and Alabama. They're off. Mississippi State's playing UMass. Oklahoma playing probably their last game they're going to win this season against Maine. So not a ton of sexy matchups necessarily, but a few few interesting ones nonetheless. And I'll start off with the one that's going to follow College Game Day at noon. Ole Miss going to Fayetteville, Arkansas. I don't know about you, man. This game seems like a big trap for the Rebels.
Oh, most definitely. Look, Ole Miss is kind of in a weird situation where it's like, are they even going to go to the playoff? Like, I don't know if they will. It's possible, but it's like you really need to play well down the stretch here. But Arkansas, they have a really good chance to finish this year out with like 7, 8, 9 wins. They're kind of like South Carolina in a lot of ways. I think this is a game that I think it's on our staff picks this week. I might honestly pick Arkansas. I haven't done it yet, but I just feel confident about Sam Pittman's squad and that they're not going to squander this great opportunity they have at home.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is a much improved Arkansas offense from where it was a season ago. They've had 3 games this year where they've gone over 600 yards offensively, but you're going up against legitimately the best overall defense in the SEC in Mississippi State. So my question is, can they put up points, or one of the best defenses in the SEC overall in Mississippi, can they put up enough points to hang in with what their high-powered offense can do on the other side?
That's the thing. I don't know what the score on this game is going to be, but like Arkansas is going to have to be able to score points in this game. And I think defensively, you're going to have to keep Jackson Dart, all those guys in check. Some teams have done a really good job against Ole Miss on the defensive side of the ball. But look, one play can beat you in this game. And if you're Arkansas, you really need to be playing sound defensively. And so much more than offense.
And look, I think Sam Pittman's already done more than enough to save his job at this point in time. That big one against Tennessee a couple weeks ago certainly goes a long way. But, man, you beat especially an Ole Miss team that, again, is teetering on the verge of being in the playoff. You're definitely coming back for another year if you're Coach Pittman.
Most definitely. And, look, the schedule I feel like is kind of favorable after this because you also get Texas at home on November 16th after a bye week, which is going to be really, really big for the Hogs. And I think they could potentially, if they don't win this game, I still think they're going to be able to win. I think they're going to split these two, Ole Miss and Texas. I just think there's something good about Arkansas this year that we're not talking enough about. And then they get Louisiana Tech, and then they go to Missouri for their rivalry game. So there is a really good chance Arkansas could finish this year at least 3-1.
Down in Jacksonville, it is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Do not refer to it as any other name because as the only name, it deserves to be called Georgia and Florida. Not as much juice going into this year's matchup because as it has been the past couple of years, Florida is not good and Georgia is one of the best teams in the country. My question is, what version of Georgia are we going to see? Are we going to see the Georgia team that straight up punched Texas in the mouth for 4 quarters a couple weeks ago? Or are we going to see the Georgia team that struggled to put away the Mississippi States? They got off to a slow start against Alabama a couple weeks back. Like, they've been very Jekyll and Hyde this year at times.
I want to say Georgia's going to start putting their foot on the gas and just making progress and not letting anyone get in their way. But there's just something that makes me feel like something's just going to be tough about this game. I think they're going to win, but I think this is going to be a closer game than probably people think. But it also wouldn't shock me if we're talking about this game on Monday or Tuesday, whenever, and we're like, wow, Georgia just beat the brakes off of Florida. Florida's been playing better lately. They're coming off a nice win over Kentucky, but there's just a lot of question marks still about Florida, and there is a good chance that these final few games are going to be really tough for the Gators.
Yeah, so they've won. Go ahead.
Now, will Billy Napier be able to survive? Because you got what? Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss at FSU. We talked about beginning of the year, man. This is the toughest part of the schedule coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, they've played better as of late. They've won 3 out of the last 4 and took Tennessee to overtime on the road in Knoxville. So you certainly tip the cap to what they've done these past couple of weeks. But they're 4-3 right now. If they want to get back to a bowl game, they have to find 2 more wins in that gauntlet that you described. They should have no problem beating Florida State at the end of the year. But trying to beat Georgia, trying to go on the road and beat Texas, beating LSU, or beating Ole Miss at home, that is going to be very, very tough, especially now. I know DJ Lagway's got a high upside. He's been okay in the games that he's played so far, but he's going to need to be a superstar if they're going to win any of these games.
That's the thing, man. And look, we think they're going to beat Florida State, but if they don't, I don't think they're getting bowl eligible. Like, if they get bowl eligible, they get to 6 wins. Say what you will. I think that's an okay. Like, all right, for Florida, it's not a great season, but under the circumstances, I think that's okay. I think Billy ends up surviving if they get the 6 wins or more. But otherwise, no, I don't think so. And if they get to 6 wins, that means they're going to have a signature win somewhere because all those teams they're playing over these next 4 weeks are really, really good.
Last one here that's somewhat compelling for Saturday. It is Tennessee taking on Kentucky. And when I initially look at this game, I think there is no way Kentucky can pull off this upset. But at the same time, the last time we saw Tennessee, it was a highly emotional game. I know they've had the bye week since then, but it was a highly emotional game, picking up the win against Alabama. Are they on letdown look ahead? Like, are they coming down off the high of that win still to where maybe Kentucky, with the defense that they have, can come in there and surprise them?
It wouldn't shock me, but it's at night. It's at Neyland. I just think – I don't think Kentucky's very good, honestly. Like, I think Kentucky is ready. I know the fan base is probably ready to get rid of Stoops. I think Tennessee is right in that picture to be in the college football playoff if they continue the way they are. They could probably lose one more game and be fine. But I think Tennessee, they've got a lot to play for, so much more than Kentucky, who is already in a lost season. I think Tennessee's going to be fine in this game, and Kentucky one step closer to probably getting rid of Mark Stoops.
Well, and I said this Kentucky defense is going to give them a shot. When you look at their last 2 games against Florida and Auburn, 2 teams that are notoriously bad on offense this year, they've given up 476 and 498 yards respectively. Not exactly a ringing endorsement for a defense that, while Tennessee's offense is not as electric as it was a couple of years ago with Hendon Hooker, very efficient. Obviously, Nico Imaliaba is finding his way there, and I just think they're going to light up the Wildcats. I think the heat will continue to get turned up on Mark Stoops because this one has a chance to get ugly.
And look, Tennessee has all the weapons. Kentucky, they don't have that type of caliber on offense. And I think this is going to be a game where maybe it's close early, but Tennessee's having too much firepower late in this game.
We'll come back, wrap up hour number 1 of the Extra Point. Get Jack's final thoughts and keys to a Gamecock victory coming up tomorrow. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Belcher along with you on your Football Friday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network.
Hey, this is Terry Ford, 107.5 The Game. We just want to invite you to a real special event coming up at the Dillon Columbia Supply Company. It's their fall open house, November 7th, noon to 2 p.m. It's your chance to meet their incredible team, check out their products and services, and get exclusive event day specials. Whether you're in the industrial, construction, steel, or safety business, they've got the tools and supplies you need. Again, Thursday, November 7th, noon to 2 at Dillon Columbia Supply Company, 320 Orchard Drive, West Columbia.
This is Boomer Esiason with Sports Minute, sponsored by Wendy's Breakfast Burritos. 10 years after Kevin Harvick won the NASCAR Cup Series championship, his 12-year-old son, Keelan, this week won the U.S. Legends Cars National Championship. As this year's Cup Series playoffs enter their penultimate weekend at Martinsville, so set your DVRs so you won't miss my entire interview with the great Kevin Harvick this week on Game Time. I'm Boomer Esiason.
Wendy's Breakfast Burrito has an entire breakfast in every bite. Fresh cracked eggs, seasoned potatoes, American cheese, cheese sauce, and sausage or bacon. So the first bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. And the second bite is like fresh American cheese sauce. Bacon. You get the idea. And now, get yours with $1 any size soft drink. Gotta be Wendy's.
Limited time only. Price and participation may vary. Not valid in a combo. Exclusions apply.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick. Soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors.
Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults.
Home ownership. At Progressive, we know it's part of the American dream. It's sea to shining sea and water damage as far as the eye can see.
It's America.
It's freshly mowed grass and a fence that was freshly vandalized by a pack of unruly teens.
It's America.
It's also round-the-clock protection when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, which can help keep the American dream of home ownership alive and kicking. Get a quote at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Football season is here.
Do you have your picks in on Sleeper? Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and you could win up to 100 times your money. For new users, Sleeper will even match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code MONDAY for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code MONDAY. Must be 18 years in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688. Or go to SelectQuote.com. 1-800-478-6688. That's 1-800-478-6688.
SelectQuote. We shop. You save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
Football Friday. Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head and Jack Felcher along with you on your Football Friday, wrapping up hour number 1. Of course, it being a home game Friday, that means Jay and Elijah going to the post-game show from Columbia Craft on Green Street down in the Vista. And for those that have been listening to the show for a couple weeks now, you know Elijah has to pay up his bet. Jack, are you familiar with the wager that Elijah and Jay made a couple weeks back?
No, what was it?
So because Jay's a big Broncos fan, Elijah's a big Saints fan. When they played on Thursday Night Football a couple weeks ago, if Elijah lost, he was going to have to try Rocky Mountain oysters, which I'm sure you're familiar with what Rocky Mountain oysters are, right?
Yeah, I am. Oh, my gosh.
So today, he is supposed to be paying up that bet.
Oh, my gosh. Those two are perfect for each other, aren't they?
They really are. And look, Elijah, the time I've been around him, he'll eat just about anything, but he might even draw the line at this. So I am very intrigued. I'm sure they'll have a video of it later, how this ends up going.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be real entertaining to watch.
Well, and after Elijah downs that, he's got to come back here for the Love Chevrolet High School Football Scoreboard Show with Justin Hall and Ed Bird from 7 until 11 p.m. So busy day, and hopefully Elijah can keep everything down and not throw up at any point today.
Absolutely.
Final couple more minutes here with you before we wrap up hour number 1. Again, I feel like the vibes for this game are very positive in South Carolina's direction. It's not going to be an easy task. We've talked about it all week. They are 0-9 against their last ranked opponents. What do they need to do to win tomorrow?
They, for one, it depends on who starts a quarterback for A&M, but you have to stop the run. Number 1, that has to be the key. Like stopping Le'Veon Moss, Marcel Reed, whoever is in there running the football. Take away the run as best you can, because then you force the pass game and you take your chances through the air trying to defend against the pass. And if you give up a big play every now and then, okay. But you need to be able to play like you have been in the secondary to have a chance to win this game. Other than that, on offense, let's get the run game figured out, right? I think you need to see, can we get the Rocket Sanders big-time explosion type of game, like the 143-yard game he had against LSU? Otherwise, he hasn't had 100 yards in a game so far this season. I think this is the game where we really see him step up. I know it's going to be a tall task against this A&M defense and having to try to run through the Swiss cheese offensive line that is for South Carolina. But I definitely do think get the run game going. That makes everything so much easier on Lenore Sellers and having to get the ball out quick and throw. So those are my keys to the game. It's pretty simple. Defend the run the football effectively on offense, and just don't make stupid mistakes. Please do not make mistakes that are going to cost you, because if you do, you're giving A&M all the advantage in the world.
Play off of the positives of your defense. like we said, when you go back to the Ole Miss game, again, the last game they had coming off of a bye, defense forced Ole Miss into a punt on the first possession of the game. Offense couldn't move the ball. They end up faking the punt, and then you're putting your defense in a tough situation with only 38 yards for A&M or for Ole Miss to score, which they did. And then you end up fumbling around your own, around the Ole Miss 40-yard line, set them up on a short field once again. So give your defense the opportunity to go out there and dominate, because we know they can. There are so many, as we've talked about all season long, NFL caliber defensive players on the South Carolina defense, which is another reason why you don't want to waste this year with how good this defense is, because most of these guys aren't going to be back next year. Allow them to benefit how they can, and offense, don't shoot yourself in the foot, which I think has kind of been the key all year, but do enough, but don't get too crazy.
No. And I think this first quarter is probably going to go a long way in how this game plays out. If you're behind early, I don't know if you pull out the win here. I mean, you need to probably get to, I don't even know how many points you really need to get to in this game, but you got to score a good bit, I think, to win this game. I think South Carolina can get the job done. It's just you need to get that first stop right out of the gate. A&M gets the ball, stop them. And then go do something on offense. Go do something that is going to just shock everyone. Drive down the field, score, set the tone, just show that, like, hey, this team is not messing around, and we are here to play. So I think that is what South Carolina needs to come in with, that type of mindset for this game.
And obviously what you do in this game really sets the tone for what the final, at that point, 4 games of the season are going to be. Because if you can beat a top 10 team, there's no reason to think you can't beat a Clemson. There's no reason to think you can't beat a Missouri in a couple weeks. But if you go out there and get run over and it's not close, we're looking at this and saying, whew, yeah, you'll probably beat Wofford, but I don't know about these other games. So this really sets the tone for how the season's going to wrap up.
Totally. And the good thing with South Carolina is they're historically really good in November under Shane Beamer. But again, this has been a different year where they got off to a good start, which historically speaking, they haven't gotten off to strong starts in the first month of the season. Will that be the case where we get a reversal this year? I hope not. But obviously, this is a game that really, it's not a must win, but it goes a really long way in kind of figuring out what you're going to be like for the final 4 games of this season.
It's not a must win, but it'd be really nice to win. Which there's a difference.
Yeah, it's not like end all be all if you lose this game, but it really makes you feel like, okay, 4-4. Vanderbilt's much better this year. Missouri, you haven't beat them since 2018. Wofford, you should beat them, and then going to Clemson, I don't know, man. We'll have to see. But if you win this game, you feel so much better at 5-3.
Got your final score thought yet?
I don't really know. I thought maybe picking South Carolina, but the more I think about it, I don't know. We'll find out in staff picks in a few hours, but if I am leaning one way, it's probably with South Carolina right now.
Look, it's a toss-up game in a lot of ways. A&M's only favored by about 2.5, 3 points, and the matchup predictor almost has this as pick'em. Should be a fun game regardless tomorrow night in Willie B. That's for sure.
Totally. I'm really looking forward to it. This is a massive game, and if South Carolina gets it, I don't know, man. Crazy things might happen these final 4 weeks of the year.
We're going to have something to react to on Monday, that's for sure, and also be able to preview a little bit of men's and women's basketball as they get their season rolling on Monday as well. Jack, we'll talk to you down the line tomorrow on the pregame show.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to a great week with you and looking forward to tomorrow.
Hour number 1 in the books. Coming up, start off hour number 2. Carter Carrolls of Gig'em 24/7 going to call in, and we're going to get some thoughts from behind enemy lines. That's coming up next. Extra Point Football Friday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive. What you're talking about. Sponsored by Love Chevrolet, the home of the famous $1,000 low price guarantee. I-26 at Harbison and online at
Here, Roy and Dana Finley are shaking things up at AAA Heating and Air. For the next 12 months, they're telling their customers no. Get a new system purchase with no payments and no interest for an entire year. You heard that right. Purchase a new system now and make no payments for a full 12 months. So do what I did. Call AAA Heating and Air for your free estimate and tell them Jay Phillips sent you.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Firehouse Subs, Hook and Ladder jingle, take 1.
Hook and ladder,
When it's hot, it just tastes better. Warm that smoky turkey, that thin slice.
Guys, this is a 30-second ad. You gotta sing faster.
Hook and ladder. When it's hot, it just tastes better. Melty cheese and toast spread, mustard, mayo, purpose bread, lettuce, green, and onion. The sandwich is too big for the song. It's too big.
The Hook and Ladder, available only at participating Firehouse Subs restaurants.
Kickstart your day at 9 a.m. with your Carolina Pick-Me-Up. Sponsored by South Carolina's largest injury law firm, George Sink Injury Lawyers. If you're injured, call 09s today.
Get George Sink Law Firm on the line. Call 999-9999.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
Were your gutters damaged or clogged during the recent storms? The Gutterman will not only clear out your gutters, but also ensure that everything is working optimally. Protect your biggest investment. Call the guys in the powder blue trucks, the Guttermen, at 803-791-7147.
We keep the clutter out of your gutter. Call on the gutter man.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here for Integrated Media. You know they've been the Midlands leader in home theater for the past 2 decades. From installation of amazing 4K televisions and surround sound systems to Wi-Fi that works everywhere, no one else compares to their customer service and quality. And now the guys at Integrated Media have expanded their brand to provide a state-of-the-art golf simulator experience next to their offices in Chapin. Pro Swing is what it's called. The golf simulators by Golf Zone have automatic tees. You don't have to bend over to set up your next shot. Amazing swing plate moving up to 24 different directions for a truly lifelike experience. The playing surface has simulated greenside and fairway bunkers, even 2 different cuts of rough to bring a real-life experience inside with 68 degrees of air conditioning every day. One golfer can play 18 holes in about an hour, 2 in 2, with selections of non-alcoholic drinks, domestic and craft beer. It's fun for the entire family. To book a tee time or to get golf lesson packages, visit ProSwingColumbia.com or call 803-948-8327. Have a blast with Pro Swing and Integrated Media.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay. Things, people, love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Your home, your family, your moments. First Alert is reminding you to be prepared and install smoke and carbon monoxide alarms on every level and in every bedroom of your home. Don't forget to add First Alert fire extinguishers on every level, plus the kitchen. And know how to use them. Protection is key to help protect life's moments. And First Alert is your partner through it all. Get fire safety you can trust by visiting firstalert.com and Lowe's stores today.
WNKT FM Eastover, Columbia.
Congrats to the Gamecocks women on another national championship.
A Cumulus media station. The extra point, the extra point, the extra point, the extra point.
With Tyler Head and Gamecock Central
on the Game Network. Football Friday.
Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling.
Brian's Heating and Cooling, where they take your comfort personally. Give them a call for all your commercial and residential comfort needs. 803-796-1788 or briansheatingandcooling.com.
Rodgers to snap. Kroger to hold. Kick it up. Plenty of distance. Not a great crowd response, but they didn't like the 3. We got it anyway.
Football Friday.
On the Game Network.
It's 8 o'clock. Welcome back in. Hour number 2 of the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Football Friday. Of course, getting you set for the Gamecocks and the Aggies coming up tomorrow night at 7:30 over at Williams-Brice Stadium. Get a little bit of perspective from the Texas A&M side of things. Welcome back onto the program from Gig'em 24/7. Carter Carrolls. Carter, first of all, appreciate your time this morning. Are you in Columbia for the game this weekend?
Yes, I'll actually be traveling up there tonight. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, appreciate you as always. Believe we had you on last year prior to this game, and hopefully Columbia treats you well. When you go back to, let's say, the summertime, when we're all previewing and making our guesses on what the year is going to be, where did you see Texas A&M being on November 1st? Because I don't know anybody, at least in our bubble or around the Southeast, that thought they were going to be at the top of the SEC standings, unblemished in conference play.
Yeah, I certainly did not expect this, nor did I see it after the Notre Dame game, of course. But I did think that this would be a nice first season under first-year coach Mike Elko. Just with the way that the schedule was presented, your 4 toughest games were arguably all at home. You didn't have to play, Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, some of the harder teams in the SEC. So I felt like I predicted 9-3. So I predicted a pretty good season, one of the better ones in a while, but I think this start speaks to a lot of different things. But another reason why there was some optimism going into the season was, A&M was able to retain some key players from last year. It wasn't like a total disaster in terms of the transfer portal and who all they lost, and then they were able to fill in a lot of holes and add some star players like Nick Scorton and Will Lee at cornerback. And so, I think it speaks to a lot of different things, but what they did in the offseason, I think, is from who they hired, from the strength and conditioning coach they got and Tommy Moffitt, to the guys that they kind of filled the holes with their roster with getting 25 portal guys. That's why they are where they are now. And I think it's kind of taken the world by storm a little bit. I don't think people on the outside quite expected this, considering they only won 12 games in the last couple of years combined.
You mentioned your feeling coming away from that Notre Dame game in week number 1, and I think there were a lot of people that probably wrote them off at that point in time. And over the next couple of weeks, you beat a bad Florida team. Okay, doesn't really move the needle a lot. You scrape by Bowling Green, but it's that mauling against Missouri a couple weeks back that I think really, from a national standpoint, turn people's attention to, hey, maybe A&M is something this year. At what point there in College Station did you guys really start to believe that this team was even better than you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I think that Missouri game was a huge turning point because, you think about that first 5 games leading up to that, and, Florida beating them is not crazy impressive. They barely beat Arkansas. You barely beat Bowling Green. Your quarterback situation is not quite settled. You lose Connor Wigman for 3 games because of an injury. He hadn't been playing well. Then you bring in Marcel Reed, and he was a nice spark initially, and then he just didn't really, progress the way that you maybe wanted him to. It was his first 3 starts, so he's a young guy and obviously has a lot more development ahead of him. But at that time, you're thinking, man, how's this going to shake out against these really good teams? And then Wigman comes back and lights it up against Missouri. And then, of course, against LSU, we saw what happened with Marcel Reed coming in and being such a huge spark off the bench. And I think those 2 games combined just flip that narrative upside down of, well, they hadn't really beat anybody. And, what have they really done, beating Bowling Green by 6 and Arkansas by 4? And so that first 5 games, there were a lot of questions still. There was still a thought of, this team could still go 8-4. But now, after those 2 wins, you're talking about playoff, you're talking about SEC championship. Obviously, they're the only team in the SEC with an undefeated record in conference play. And when you combine all their SEC wins so far, their 5 SEC wins, it's been by an average of about 15 points. They're winning a lot of these games by double digits. And so even though it's looked ugly at times, and even though it hasn't been, dominant start to finish in a lot of these games, they're still winning by double digits in almost all of them. So got to give them a lot of credit for that.
You're talking to Carter Carls of Gig'em 24/7. Speaking of quarterbacks, like you mentioned, Marcel Reed comes in the third quarter and ignites the A&M offense and routes to that victory over LSU. I know Elko's been playing it close to the vest this week on who is going to start. What's your thought on this, and is there a possibility we see both guys on Saturday night?
Yeah, he has been playing as coy as ever all week. I even asked him, like, hey, well, when do you want to come to that decision? When do you want to tell your team? Is there a day that you pick? I know Missouri, for that game, Thursday was kind of the day that he said, okay, Connor, this is yours. And he didn't even want to answer that. He didn't want to give us a day. And so I don't think it will really be known until pregame warm-ups on Saturday. And my sense is, after what we saw from Marcel Reed, the night and day difference between the two, and because of how challenging South Carolina's defense will be, I think you've got to start Marcel Reed. But I think it's a situation where, you got to kind of ride the hot hand. It's a weird situation because, no one believes in two quarterback systems. No one ever says, oh, this is a good thing. But when you're 7-1 and your quarterback play has been so up and down from both guys, you kind of have to feel both of them out and say, okay, who's got the hot hand? Because Connor Weigman, obviously has a lot of doubters at this point. He did not play well against Notre Dame, did not play well against LSU. He is a Jekyll and Hyde quarterback. But when he is at his best, there is a reason why you had ESPN and The Athletic and other places saying that this guy could be a first-round pick in 2025. I don't think that's the case anymore, but there are times like the Missouri game where he can look fantastic. And on the flip side, Marcel Reed, there's times where, okay, maybe against Arkansas and Bowling Green, pretty limited as a passer, but then other times like Florida and LSU, he can just carve you up on the ground, and the rest of everything doesn't really matter. It also doesn't turn over the football. So in my mind, you kind of have to feel out, okay, who's hot? It's kind of like riding the maybe a hot reliever in the postseason, managing a bullpen in baseball. You kind of have to figure out, okay, who has it, who doesn't, and then you just kind of ride whoever has it. And so I think you see both, and I think it's not going to be easy for either quarterback considering how good this South Carolina defense is. And so that's why I think you start Reed, but, hey, if the first couple drives are 3 and outs, if he throws a pick, you might want to have a quick leash on him because the other guy might have it more.
And that's an interesting point you bring up there with the leash, and I agree with you. I'd feel like the sensible thing is to start Reed and go from there, but they're two different types of quarterbacks. Again, Reed, the better runner, Connor Weigman, the better thrower overall. When you look at the dynamic of how much they run and pass compared to which quarterback's under center, it definitely speaks volumes to that. Yeah. Would you say they're on the similar type of leash, though? Like, are you quick to pull the trigger on Reed or quicker to pull the trigger on Weigman? If we're to start him, how would you see that playing out?
I think you're quicker to pull Weigman because his lows are much lower. I think with Reed, even when he's not throwing the ball well, he does not get you in a lot of trouble, and he gets you some easy yards that you don't always get with Weigman. I think with Reed, it opens up this running game with Colin Klein's offense that, you just don't really get with Connor. And so you have that as kind of your high floor. You're like, at least you're going to be running the ball fairly well. But you just, he might be throwing for 150 yards. And, okay, is that enough to win a game on the road? Whereas Connor, his low is throwing 3 picks and, completing 40% of his passes. And so, Weigman has more of that train wreck element where things can just kind of compound, between themselves. He can kind of see ghosts and get forced into some bad decisions. I think about the Mississippi State game. We talk about the LSU game against Mississippi State. He threw 2 picks and had 2 other interceptions dropped that probably would have been pick sixes on the same drive that ended up being a scoring drive. And so I just think that because his lows are lower, if he throws a pick and it's clear, oh my gosh, he's seeing ghosts, then I think you pull him. Now, I don't think maybe you give him a drive. But I think with Marcel Reed, you probably have a little bit more confidence that, okay, if he makes this mistake, like he's yet to commit a turnover all season in 4 games of football. So I don't think that you can think that, okay, he's going to have another one right after this.
Let's flip over to the defensive side here. Got about 2 more minutes. And look, South Carolina's offensive line is bad. We've been talking about it this entire year, and we've been looking at this defensive front for A&M, Hicks, Scorton, Stewart, Howell, that have just been eating all year long. I imagine those guys are licking their chops at the opportunity that are going to get tomorrow night to probably put a lot of pressure on the Norris Sellers.
Yeah, this is the biggest advantage A&M has coming into this game. South Carolina's O-line, as you know, hasn't been good this year. It wasn't good last year. And, it's a D-line that's really come into its own over the last few games. I think the first few games people were wondering, hey, we heard all about this Nick Scorton. He's only got 1 sack through 3 games. And, over his last 4 or 5 games, he's got about 4 sacks and 12 tackles for a loss and has just been a menace off the edge against the run and the pass. And so, yeah, I think that's the big advantage. It's really difficult to run the ball against this defensive front as well. One of the interesting things is after the first 2 games, they ranked 109th against the run. They were getting gashed all over the place by Notre Dame and even a little bit by McNeese State. But since then, they've improved from 109th to 18th, and that's because, they're stopping LSU and giving up only 24 yards on the ground. They're giving up barely anything to Jaquindon Jackson at Arkansas. They're giving up nothing to Missouri and Nate Noel. They have shut down some pretty good rushing attacks along the way. I know running the football is going to be a key element to South Carolina's offense, so that's something to watch because A&M's done a really nice job of defending that run.
He's Carter Carls from Gig'em 24/7. Certainly going to be a fun matchup tomorrow night. And the Eyes of the Nation going to be upon at 7:30 on ABC. I appreciate your insight, and we'll be checking in with you, I'm sure, through basketball and baseball season as well.
Absolutely, Tyler. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. We'll continue on with the Extra Point on your Football Friday. Check it with our guy, intern Joe from the Big Spur, coming up next here on your Football Friday on The Game.
The Game Network in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.5 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach.
100.3 The Game.
Hate paying for streaming? One more thing you got to stream and pay for? Well, the Game app is, wait for it, free.
It's free! It's free! It's free!
Yes, all you got to do is go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app and listen for nothing in all respects of the word. Nothing. 107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20,000 off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
With Reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Come see the entire line of GE appliances at 1421 Atlas Road. Jeffers McGill offers the best customer service and lowest price on every GE make and model, including GE Profile, Monogram, and Cafe brands. Jeffers McGill and GE, your home team.
For appliances with reliances, that's Jeffers McGill.
Bill Gunner for Charwood Golf Club, where this fall, if you are not at Willie B, you should be at the Wood. Go ahead and book your tee time online, charwood.com. Get out and discover one of the Midland's hidden gems and the 18-hole layout at Charwood Golf Club. So go ahead today. Again, if you are not at Willie B this fall, enjoy the weather, enjoy the laid-back atmosphere at the Wood. 803-755-2000 or book online, charwood.com. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Living with persistent pain and facing joint replacement? You want the best surgeon and technology available. You'll find both at Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery. Using the most advanced technology, including robotics, our experienced orthopedic surgeons, nurses, and technicians perform hip, knee, shoulder, wrist, and elbow replacement, as well as hip resurfacing with no hospital stay, excellent outcomes, and lower costs to you. Midlands Orthopedics and Neurosurgery.
Whether it's building a brand new home or remodeling your current home, at Tracal Builders, we do it all. I'm Eddie Springer. From single room remodeling, including kitchens and baths, to building custom homes, Tracal Builders does first-class work. But maybe you just need a new roof. Again, Tracal does it all. Our experienced roofers can replace your roof quickly, cleanly, and affordably. Call 360-8211 or visit trecalbuilders.com. Tracal Builders, quality from start to finish.
Hey guys, it's Jay Phillips for AAA Heating and Air. You know, for many years, AAA has been your year-round ally against changing weather across the Midlands, whether it's the hot summers or those cool winters. Let their expert team make sure that your home is always an oasis of comfort. And now, Roy and Dana Finley have a spectacular offer to make it even better for you and your family for years to come. How about 12 months, no payments or interest in 2024, plus guaranteed financing, a $1,500 system buyback rebate, and their 15-year parts and labor guarantee that speaks volumes of the trust in their service and in their products. AAA has done things at my house that make my family nice and comfortable all year long. They can do it for you, too. Get a free quote today. Call AAAtoday.com. That's call AAAtoday.com or give them a shout at 803-677-1500. Tell them Jay Phillips sent you to AAA Heating and Air.
AAA Air when you need us. AAA Heating and Air.
Football Friday. Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you here on your Football Friday on the Game. Reminder, tomorrow, the Loyola-Lisa Special Teams Touchdown Contest. Back for another week. $800 up for grabs if the Gamecocks can get a special team score against the Aggies. Go online to 1075thegame.com and register if you have not done so already this year for the Loyola-Lisa Special Team Contest. And if no touchdown happens tomorrow, another $100 out of the pot for the next game and the next game and the next game and so on and so forth until we finally see that special team score. Time to check in as we do each and every Friday with our guy, Joe Machika from the Big Spur. Joe, we talked about it all week long. Huge game. Willie B. Saturday night, wearing the all-black uniforms. Nation's going to be watching. A lot of pressure. Top 10 team coming into town trying to get over this hump that you've been on for the past 2 years of not being able to beat a team with a number next to their name.
Yeah, Tyler, absolutely ginormous game coming into Williams-Brice Stadium this weekend with the Texas A&M Aggies night kick. The all-black unis, as you mentioned. Williams-Brice Stadium was built for games like these. It is going to be a loud one, I'm sure. And whenever you're playing under the lights and those all black unis, something good tends to happen.
I was talking to Carter Carls of Gig 'em 24/7 there in that last segment, and we were talking about the expectations for A&M coming into the season, nobody, even people in College Station, did not see them being the number one team in the SEC going in the month of November with only one loss coming to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in week number 1, but they're here. But that brings a lot of pressure because you just beat one of the better teams in the SEC last week at home. You're now top 10. You've got a pathway to the college football playoff in front of you, to the SEC championship game in front of you. You just have to navigate a tricky month of November. For Mike Elko, who, yes, has been a head coach before at Duke, that's a lot of pressure to handle.
Oh, yeah. It's a ton of pressure, Tyler. And the fact that you have to, go on the road and come to South Carolina and go into the house of horrors that has been Williams-Brice for good teams recently, it is a lot of pressure. And then, if you make it past South Carolina, you got to go play Texas. That game's still in there too. So Elko's got a lot of work to do. And then with this South Carolina game, it's certainly a lot of pressure simply because of what is expected of this team and the way that South Carolina's season has been going. Since South Carolina doesn't have a number next to their name, I think, there's a lot of A&M fans that are certainly overlooking this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, when you look at the track record, going back to that, starting with the Gator Bowl 2 years ago, Carolina's not been able to beat ranked teams. And there have been some close games, like what we saw against Alabama and what we saw against LSU early in the season, and some games that have been one-sided. The Tennessee game last year, the Ole Miss game earlier on this year. So it's not like they've been close in every single one, but they haven't been getting blown out either. And at some point, you have to get over that hump. You have to prove to not only the entire nation, but yourself that you have the ability to beat teams like this. And that is the perfect opportunity to do that tomorrow. Because, again, you've got this great defense. You've got home field advantage tomorrow night. You've got a raucous environment, a raucous atmosphere. I said this earlier on today. I've got a ton of positive vibes for this game for South Carolina. I don't know if I'm warranted in that or not, but I feel like they got a good shot here, and it's going to be disappointing if they end up coming up short.
Yeah, Tyler, very disappointing. So many positive vibes rolling for South Carolina in this one. I think the only one is Marcel Reed. I think with Connor Wegman, you were licking your chops if you were South Carolina's defense going into this one. Just the way that they were, running the offense, throwing the ball, and everything. It looked like it was about to be a feast for South Carolina. Then A&M switches quarterbacks to Marcel Reed. You're not necessarily sure which one you're going to get. Elko's played a game of, 2 quarterbacks. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But I still feel really good for South Carolina in this game. Now you just have to take care of business, right? You've had, the bye week and everything to make sure that you're ready to go for this. So you might as well do it. All of the hype brewing. So, everything is on a tee for South Carolina. You just have to step up there and hit it 1,000,000 yards.
Well, I think one of the biggest questions is which team, which coach, however you want to phrase it, handles pressure the best, because we've seen both these teams play in big games. Obviously, A&M won theirs last week. They've won all their games so far this year with the exception of Notre Dame. And we've seen Carolina play in big games, come up a little bit short, but again, not getting bludgeoned in all of them. You had a case for how you could have beaten LSU, and one bad throw away from beating Alabama a couple weeks back as well. So they're right there. They're on the verge of knocking the door down. The question is, can they do it tomorrow? And again, you can make strong arguments. And looking at the point spread, looking at the matchup predictor, it's really close. It's 50-50 in a lot of people's eyes, and you can make strong arguments both ways.
Yeah, absolutely, Tyler. And 50-50, those kind of games set up the best kind of football games. Those are the best football games to watch and everything. So I'm excited. It's going to be a dogfight. And granted, like we've been saying that, it does favor South Carolina a little bit. But yeah, these are two teams that need a win. And so whoever, does the job on Saturday is going to claw out of it with the win and keep moving. So yeah, a lot of pressure on this one, but I'm expecting it to be a pretty good football game.
When I look at Monday, right, when we're reacting to this, one team's going to win, one team's going to lose, because that's how sports work. Yep. What is the conversation around South Carolina if they lose this game? What's the conversation around South Carolina if they win this game?
So the conversation if they lose this game is kind of like, all right, well, you got to reset because, you've got good teams still left on the schedule, and teams that are very capable of beating you. So you can't can't start skidding now, right? This is not the time to go on a losing skid. But versus, Tyler, if they win this game, everything is back on track. Winning out is still possible. You'll have all the momentum in the world, which is, I think the biggest thing for this team is just momentum down the stretch. They got to play somewhat consistently. But I think if they beat Texas A&M the way that they should, there's going to be a lot of talk about how South Carolina is one of the better not ranked teams in the country, and they might also receive a vote in the 8 people kind of thing like that. All of that conversation is going to come with it, and I think it's exactly what Shane Beamer and everybody within that program has been yearning for, just to this point in the season.
South Carolina's garnered a lot of conversation nationally this year, and mainly because of their defense. I feel like when I listen to some of these big talking heads around the country talk about South Carolina, they want to believe in this team. They want to believe this team is capable of winning 8-9 games this year in the regular season, and winning this game tomorrow night, upsetting a top 10 team in your home venue, I think would validate Carolina in a lot of people's eyes. We talked about this last year with Coach Pierce's team in men's basketball. They were waiting for that moment to be validated from the national perspective. It took them a long time to do that, but they eventually got there, and people started treating them with the respect they feel like they deserved. This is your opportunity for Carolina and Coach Beamer's team. You can go out there and earn this respect tomorrow night. You just got to get out there and get the job done.
Yeah, played it simple, Tyler. And again, I think the validation is something that this team has been looking for these first couple of years. And everything. It's big. It's a very big deal. And again, I think, considering where you're at now and where you've been these last couple of years, this win and all the validation that comes with it is massive. It's continuing to take steps forward in the right direction. And then, you still have games left on the schedule. The season is by no means over, but this would certainly be one of the signature wins down the stretch for Shane Beamer and co, no?
Things get kicked off tomorrow night at 7:30. Myself and Terry Ford will have Gamecocks game day at 2:30, sponsored by LexMed Orthopedics out there at the party lot at Sound and Images from 2:30 until 4:30. Come by and see us. Then, of course, you can listen to the game here in Columbia and in Myrtle Beach as well. It's not the only big game going on. Huge games going on around the country, including a top 5 battle with Ohio State and Penn State. We'll talk about that coming up as the Extra Point rolls along. Tyler Head along with you, talking with our guy, Joe Machika from the Big Spur on your Football Friday on the Game.
From the Midlands to the PD to the beach.
The Game Network.
Hey, this is Terry Ford, 107.5 The Game. We just want to invite you to a real special event coming up at the Dillon Columbia Supply Company. It's their fall open house, November 7th, noon to 2 p.m. It's your chance to meet their incredible team, check out their products and services, and get exclusive event day specials. Whether you're in the industrial, construction, steel, or safety business, they've got the tools and supplies you need. Again, Thursday, November 7th, noon to 2 at Dillon Columbia Supply Company, 320 Orchard Drive, West Columbia.
Hey guys, Jay Phillips here from my good friends at Integrated Media, Columbia's leader in today's technology for your home and business. They've got TVs from Sony and Samsung, surround sound systems from Dolby, Sonos wireless speakers, Wi-Fi that works everywhere, even cameras to see what's going on around your home. They've got you covered. Call Integrated Media at 803-948-8327. Set up a time for them to come out to your house and talk with you about your wants and your needs. You want to cut the cord? They can help. Want one of those beautiful Samsung frame TVs that looks like art when it's not turned on? They do that too. Plus fantastic outdoor systems that let you enjoy your favorite team, movie, TV show, or music while you also enjoy our beautiful South Carolina weather. You can even stop in and see them at the Experience Center, 105 Snapdragon Court and Chapin, and get a real idea of what these things look like in your home. Do what I've done, and many of your friends and neighbors. Call 803-948-8327 and get home theater like never before from Integrated Media.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Fall is just around the corner. That means phenomenal weather and getting out to your favorite golf course here in the Midlands. Charwood Golf Club, where Rock and Daniel Lucas have an incredible layout and create a fun, relaxed environment each time you head out to the course. So give them a phone call today and line up that tee time, 803-755-2000. Again, that's 803-755-2000. Go find out about one of the Midlands' hidden golf gyms. That's Charwood Golf Club. Club. Get out there today and schedule an appointment. 803-755-2000.
Get ready to smile because Herndon Chevrolet, your hometown Chevy dealer, is offering an amazing deal right now. Get up to $20,000 off new Silverados. Yes, you heard that right. Up to $20,000 off. Don't wait. Head over to HerndonChevy.com today and drive home in the truck of your dreams. Chevy, together let's drive.
Herndon Chevrolet, Herndon makes you wanna smile.
Call 803-510-5447 for complete details.
Since 1963, Takeuchi has been a pioneer in the compact construction industry, having developed the world's first compact excavator in 1971 and the world's first compact rubber track loader in 1986. Takeuchi continues to revolutionize the industry through innovative technology and listening to customer needs. Now you can partner with a truly global leader by contacting TEC Rental Equipment in West Columbia, Orangeburg, and Somerville. From world first to world leader, Takeuchi.
You already know that Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union offers truly free checking and great rates on auto loans, but did you know they do mortgages too? Whether you need a first or second mortgage, a home equity line of credit, or a loan for construction, renovation, a lot, or a manufactured home, Palmetto Citizens has you covered. They're a community financial institution based solely here in the Midlands, so they offer a refreshingly simple mortgage process you won't get from the big banks or online lenders. Along with a great rate, the Palmetto Citizens Mortgage Team will work with you to tailor the loan to best fit your needs and budget. Apply for your mortgage today by visiting palmettocitizens.org or stopping by any of their 14 branches across the Midlands. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving this community since 1936. Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID number 449962. Approval based on credit worthiness. Certain restrictions may apply.
When you have sports mixed with your pop culture, along with humor and celebrity interviews, your earbuds are enjoying The Rich Eisen Show. Terrell Davis, former NFL player for the Denver Broncos.
When I played, if I had to get a message out, it was probably through my agent, or I had to tell somebody in the media. Now, I can just tweet it. I can just put it on social media. You hear a lot of things that you don't want to hear, and then your family hears it, they tell you about it. So it's definitely a different environment.
Search for The Rich Eisen Show on YouTube or wherever you listen.
Football Friday. Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling. From the Midlands to the PD to the beach. The Game Network.
You know, we have our goals every year, and you know, one of them is to get to Indianapolis, and this is it. It's on the line, you know, and so you know we got to go, you know, put it on the line. We got to go win some, you know, and this is it right here. And you know, for all of our players who decided to come back, and you know, everybody who decided to join the program this year. I mean, there's a reason why you come to Ohio State is to go, you know, playing games like this, and there's everything at stake.
Welcome back in. It is the Extra Points Hour, head along with you on your Football Friday, talking to our guy Joe Machika from the Big Spur. That, of course, was the voice of Ryan Day, head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, as they get set for a huge top 5 matchup as they go on the road to Happy Valley, taking on the undefeated number 3 Penn State Nittany Lions. And we talked about pressure a lot in that last segment. Joe, I'll ask you this: who's under more pressure tomorrow, James Franklin or Ryan Day?
To me, Tyler, I think Ryan Day is under more pressure. Even though Franklin has, you know, this is kind of a must-win game for him as well. If Ryan Day loses to Penn State, he doesn't, I mean, like, him getting to the end of the season to beat Michigan to save his job doesn't even matter, in my opinion. I think, you know, Penn State loss was just, again, it's a worse loss for Ryan Day than it is a worse loss for James Franklin.
Here's an interesting stat for you. James Franklin is 1-8 versus top 5 teams. Ryan Day is 2-6 versus top 5 teams. A lot of those losses coming in the past couple of years to Michigan. And of course, they lost that the Peach Bowl in the College Ball Playoff a couple years ago to Georgia as well. But here's the thing, and we looked at the 12-team playoff as like the perfect thing for Penn State, right? Because for the past handful of years, while Michigan and Ohio State have been the ones dominating the Big Ten, Penn State's been that third team. They have lost to everybody, or they've beaten everybody with the exception of Ohio State and Michigan, and that was enough to routinely land them in the top 10, but not good enough to get in a 14 playoff. But a 12-team playoff built perfectly for them. So if James Franklin loses this game tomorrow, then the perception doesn't really change. It's just like, hey, look, James Franklin once again lost to a top 5 Ohio State team, just like he's been doing every single year, with the exception of 1 year when he was at, Penn State. On the other side of things, though, Ryan Day, who many people picked to be the national championship team this year, or at very least play in the national championship game, they are not scuffling, but their margin for error has reduced, right? They lose that wild game to Oregon on the road in Eugene, which that's a quality loss if I've ever seen one. I'm not knocking them for that. And again, Will Howard, if he has a little bit better decision making, maybe they do end up winning that game, but their margin for error got a whole lot thinner. And I look at a game like last week where many of us, of course, we didn't have a South Carolina game, really got to watch them maybe for an entire 4 quarters for the first time, and they didn't look great against Nebraska. Nebraska had a lot of opportunities to win that game. Ohio State's able to pull it out. So if the Buckeyes lose this game, yeah, they're still alive for the playoff. Their ship may have sailed for the Big Ten championship game, but I think a lot of people look at it and say, well, this team's clearly not as good as we thought they were. And with a roster that was built to win this year, they went out and acquired all the talent that they could. And they have a lot of talent that's come back for another year with all sights on winning a championship, like The Last Dance or something like that. If they're a 10-2 team and they're maybe having to go on the road for a college football playoff first-round game, I don't know how many people are thinking they're going to go that far, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Tyler, I'm right there with you. I don't think this Ohio State team, as much as the roster was built upon, winning and all that, the multi-million-dollar roster or everything like that, it's kind of do or die. And I don't think they're that good. I just don't know. Ryan Day's teams have traditionally not been able to play the full season. Like at some point, and as of late, it's been towards the end. They're going to get complacent, trip on their own feet, and then stumble. And so I don't know. I'm on that kind of wave of thinking for Ryan Day's team right now. But it is, again, it's Ohio State. They've reloaded the roster. It's more than it's been loaded up before. So maybe it'll be different. But I don't know. I don't know if Ryan Day's the man that is going to get Ohio State over the hump consistently in the postseason.
The biggest question for this game, I think, revolves around Drew Aller at quarterback for Penn State. Last week he got injured in the Wisconsin game and could not finish, and Bo Paribula came in and ended up leading Penn State to the victory there, which going on the road in Camp Randall and doing that is certainly not easy. Now, Paribula did a fine job, but there's definitely a difference between him and Drew Aller under center, which is why Drew Aller's starting quarterback. Aller's somebody that's made a lot of steps forward in this offseason. This Penn State offense has been a lot more explosive this year compared to what they were a year ago. On the flip side of things, though, Ohio State limits the explosives, and if Drew Aller plays for Penn State, I think they got a really good chance. I don't know if Bo Paribula is ready for a big matchup like this if his number's getting called.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Tyler. I think Aller's pretty good at slinging the rock, but Aller's more of a pocket passer. This backup is a different style of quarterback. I think Ohio State, if the backup for Penn State is in, I think Ohio State matches up better with that on defense. Penn State, with everything they've been doing with Aller in the pocket and everything and slinging the ball around, I think they're more comfortable with it. Aller's more poised. He's been there, done that, seen a lot of games in the Big Ten. So, yeah, I firmly agree with you there. If Aller's playing, maybe Penn State, but we'll see. It's going to be one heck of a football game.
I could see this game going both ways. It could be a really high-scoring game because both these teams are very effective when it comes to offense, or it could be one of those kind of low-scoring, grinded-out type of games. My biggest thing when it comes to Penn State is how they're going to contain all these wide receivers that Ohio State has. Look at Jeremiah Smith, who's only a true freshman with 8 touchdowns already on the year. Emeka Egbuka, who's having a great year. Carnell Tate, who caught a touchdown pass last week against Nebraska as well. Like, they just have so many weapons. It is really hard to defend this offense with a very experienced quarterback in Will Howard as well.
Yeah, Ohio State's loaded, and then you mentioned Quinshon Judkins coming out of the backfield. I mean, look at his speed; it's ridiculous, so fast. And so, yeah, Ohio State's loaded. They just, have to get the job done, consistently throughout the rest of the year. No more excuses from Ryan Day. So, if Ohio State doesn't win this one, Ryan Day's seat is going to be engulfed in flames.
One more game here from the Big Ten that I think prior to the season, the prospect of Oregon traveling to the Big House, take on Michigan, was something that excited a lot of people. Now that we've actually seen how bad Michigan is, I don't think a lot of people are really paying attention to this game as much as they thought they were going to. I will say this. Oregon, who is now the number 1 team in the nation, and rightfully so, they've done a lot of traveling over the past couple weeks. So let's go back. They beat Ohio State at home. They then, on a short week, traveled to Purdue, flew back home to take on Illinois, and now we're traveling once again to take on Michigan in the Big House. They are the much more talented team. They're the better team in just about every major category. But for anybody that's flown a lot of times, or especially over the course of the past month, that kind of thing can catch up to you. They might be a little worse for wear because of the travel here in recent weeks, and that could give Michigan a chance in this one.
Yeah, 100%. I firmly agree with that statement, Tyler. I think especially some of these road games are getting out of hand. I think we saw Rutgers play at USC at like 11:30 on the West Coast. That's too late for a game, especially after traveling all that which way, getting up early and whatnot for flights. So I agree. I mean, I think some of this jet lag can catch up to them. I think Ohio State, Michigan is just, it always comes down to who wants it more. And so it kind of makes sense why Ryan Day's teams haven't been able to get over the hump in that game. But again, we'll see. I can see Michigan knocking them off. I can't stand either of the two of them, but we'll see.
Last one for you here before we let you go. Again, huge game Saturday night here in Willie B. Does Carolina get over the hump? Do they beat the top 10 Aggies team?
Yeah, I think so, Tyler. I think the atmosphere is going to be too much for A&M. And knowing that they're coming from Kyle Field and everything, I don't know. Williams-Brice Stadium is going to be jumping. I think this defense matches up well, and as long as the offense takes care of the football and gets that time of possession way up there, keeps the defense off the field and well rested, I think it should be a full night for the Gamecocks, and on Monday and on this show next week, we'll be talking about some momentum going forward.
I certainly hope so. This time next week, also, we can talk a little bit of women's basketball as well as they get things tipped off coming up on Monday in the Naismith Hall of Fame Classic out there in Vegas.
Yeah, should be a fun one against Michigan out there in Vegas. Not making the trip, but we'll have all the coverage over on the Big Spur and whatnot about all that.
I was going to say, how much did you try and beg to get to go to Vegas for this game?
Oh, so much, Tyler. I've been begging so much to go to Vegas for this game, but darn, it did not work. Maybe next time Dawn Staley puts Vegas on the schedule, I'll have to make it out there. But cool game to kick off the year. I'm excited to see what this team has for Michigan, and then also what goes down at Williams-Brice this Saturday with A&M.
Certainly going to be a fun one. Hopefully plenty to talk about coming up next week. Joe, appreciate it as always, and we'll check in with you next Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you having me as always, Tyler. Thank you.
He is Joe Machika from the Big Spur. We will come back and wrap up today's edition of The Extra Point. The ACC championship race is getting very interesting, and this weekend could go a long way in deciding just how chaotic it might end up being. It's coming up next. It is The Extra Point. Tyler Head along with you on your Football Friday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game.
In Columbia.
100.5 The Game.
In Florence.
100.3 The Game.
In Myrtle Beach. The Game Network. We all love streaking. I mean, streaming. Until we have to pay for it. But not when you stream The Game.
And how much does it cost?
It's free. Just go to iTunes or Google Play and download the 107.5 The Game app. And stream for no charge. And listen for no charge.
This is Boomer Esiason with a Sports Minute, sponsored by Angie. Angie makes it easier than ever to get your home projects done well. Get started at Angie.com. Sunday's best matchups include Denver at Baltimore, Miami at Buffalo, where the pressure is on Tua Tagovailoa for sure, and Dallas at Atlanta. The Cowboys are one of my upset specials. The others are Cleveland over the Chargers and Green Bay over Detroit, assuming Jordan Love plays. I'm Boomer Esiason.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Home ownership. At Progressive, we know it's part of the American dream. It's sea to shining sea, and water damage as far as the eye can see.
It's America.
It's freshly mowed grass and a fence that was freshly vandalized by a pack of unruly teens.
It's America.
It's also around-the-clock protection when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, which can help keep the American dream of home ownership alive and kicking. Get a quote at Progressive.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Football season is here. Do you have your picks in on Sleeper? Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and you could win up to 100 times your money. For new users, Sleeper will even match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code MONDAY for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code MONDAY. Must be 18 years in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit Sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
Hey, John. Why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu.
Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Not all policies will qualify. Not available in all states.
Football Friday.
Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling on the Game Network.
Welcome back in. Is the Extra Points Howard. Wrapping up hour number 2 here on your Football Friday on the Game. We'll let you know the new craft beer card has arrived. Now just $59. Saves you about $300 here locally at all the establishments on it that sell craft beers. You go online to 1075thegame.com and click on the Sweet Deals tab to purchase yourself the brand new craft beer card. When we entered this season, the new era of college football, which involved 12-team playoff and all the power conferences growing, it also involved all the conferences abandoning divisions. And we knew, especially with the sizes of the Big Ten, the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, there was a lot of chaotic scenarios that could play out that could make the month of November very interesting. Now, there are still very many of those chaotic scenarios happening across all 3 conferences, but none more intriguing, in my opinion, than what's happening in the ACC. I've been paying attention to their standings. As of right now, there are 4 teams that have not lost a game in conference play right now in the ACC. SMU and Pitt, Miami and Clemson, all undefeated in conference play as of right now. SMU and Pitt, they'll play tomorrow, so that'll alleviate one of those. I'll get to that game a little bit more in a minute. And Pittsburgh does play Clemson here in a couple weeks. So at best, there could still be 3 undefeated conference teams that don't play each other. Because if SMU wins tomorrow and wins out, Miami wins out, and Clemson wins out, all 3 of those teams would have identical conference records. In fact, Miami would be undefeated across the board. Clemson having their one loss to a top-ranked or one of the top-ranked teams in Georgia, and SMU only losing to a still undefeated BYU team by 3 points earlier this year. Good quality losses there. Those don't matter here when it comes to the actual ACC standings. So, as we get into the final month of the season, The ACC, if they need to come down to a tiebreaker, will be decided by winning percentage of each conference's opponent or each team's conference opponents. So essentially it becomes a strength of schedule metric when it comes to who would get in the ACC title game and who gets left out should 3 teams end up with the exact same record or more, because there could be chaos scenarios where these teams could lose after not playing each other as well. Let's just go safely here and assume they're going to win these games. And Clemson, who has looked great since that week 1 loss to Georgia, they've been playing pretty lights out football for the most part, especially on offense. Their strength of schedule in the ACC doesn't exactly stack up all that well. Their wins currently are against a 1-3 NC State team. These are all conference records, by the way. A 1-4 Stanford, a 1-6 Florida State, a 2-2 Wake Forest, and a 2-3 Virginia. Now they get Louisville this weekend, who has a winning conference record. They got Virginia Tech and they got Pitt. So they're closing out with 3 very strong teams in conference play. Couple that with Miami, who's beaten a 3-1 Virginia Tech, 0-4 Cal, 3-2 Louisville, and 1-6 Florida State. So Miami's already got a stronger interconference opponent record than Clemson already has. They still have to play a 500 team in Duke, 500 team in Georgia Tech, a 500 team in Wake Forest, and a currently 500 team in Syracuse. So if it came down to those 2, I think Miami would still end up winning out when it's all said and done. Again, SMU still undefeated. They beaten Florida State. They beaten Louisville. They beaten Stanford. They beaten Duke. They've still got to play an undefeated Pitt. They've got to play a 1-3 Boston College, 2-3 Virginia, and an 0-4 Cal. So their conference slate does not end up being all that strong here in the end. But this, again, just kind of highlighting the chaotic scenarios we could have here and, what could happen where one of these teams could be undefeated at potentially 11-1 and get left out of the ACC championship game. And why is this important? Because when we talk about how many teams are going to get in from each conference, we know the ACC champion is in. They get a guaranteed spot in the playoff, as do all the other Power 4 champions and the highest-ranked G5 champion as well. But outside of that, what do you do? Do you punish the team that goes to the ACC championship game and loses and put in the team that is sitting on a bye that week because it all came down to conference strength of schedules? Is the ACC going to be good enough in the eyes of the committee to even get more than 1 team in? Because it's looking like a lot of SEC teams are going to get in. It looks like a lot of Big Ten teams are going to get in. You still got to let in the Big 12 champion, the Group 5 champion. I don't know how many spots are going to be open. So we could look at a realistic scenario where a ACC team, by the proxy of having a weaker interconference schedule, could get left out of the ACC championship game and in turn maybe prevent them from going to the college football playoff as well. Again, there's a lot of variables that have to take place here. November's chaotic. This could all end up sorting itself out this weekend for all we know, because again, Louisville plays Clemson and Pitt and SMU play each other to knock one of those teams to have at least 1 loss. But keep your eye on the ACC because it is going to be a chaotic month of November, no matter how you end up slicing it. This game with Louisville and Clemson will tell us how for real Clemson is, because they played, as I mentioned, not a lot of tough teams since they lost to Georgia in week number 1. Their defense, middle of the road in the ACC by all important metrics. So how can Louisville test them? Clemson is, I believe, coming off of a bye, so they're rested coming into this game. Take the over, because these are both 2 top 3 offenses in the ACC and could produce a lot of points coming up tomorrow. Pitt and SMU, who saw this as a battle of unbeatens prior to the season? SMU is back at home for the first time in a month. And here's the big matchup. Brashard Smith, who is 3rd in the ACC in rushing for the Ponies, going up against the number 2 rush defense in the ACC in Pitt. So dynamic of unstoppable force meets immovable object. Going to be on full display with that coming up tomorrow night on the ACC Network. And that really kind of be the nightcap game that'll be running probably later than anybody else's because there's no super late kicks coming up tomorrow. But keep your eye on the ACC. Should be a fun month in November as we try and figure out who's going to get in the inaugural 12-team college football playoff. We'll dive back into the Gamecocks and Aggies coming up tomorrow night as the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour comes up next, presented by Firehouse Subs on your Football Friday here on The Game.
107.5 The Game. Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios.
Take up to $20K off new Silverados.
Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. Together, let's drive.
Are you a Gamecock fan that's looking for flexibility to attend the games you want without committing to season tickets? If so, the Gamecock Go Pass is for you. For only $20 a month, your Gamecock Go Pass subscription provides you with access to all non-conference football games, most men's and women's basketball and baseball games, and all softball, soccer, and volleyball games. Plus, you have the ability to add on tickets for conference football games and premier basketball and baseball games for an additional cost. To learn more and sign up today, visit thegamecockclub.com/go.
Hi, I'm Dondi Mercer-Plank, and I am excited to represent the 35-year McDaniels Auto Group as a longtime customer. Whether it is your next sporty Volkswagen, a go anywhere you want Subaru, a dream-making Porsche, that perfect Ford you've always wanted, or the performance of Acura, great selection and an unmatched level of excellence. That, my friends, is the McDaniels difference.
Visit McDanielsAutoGroup.com.
Powered by Integrated Media, The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality.
The Game TV.
Sponsored by Shepherd's Glass.
Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union wants to reward you for saving more of your hard-earned money, and they can't think of a better way to do it than with more cash. When you participate in Palmetto Citizens Save to Win program, every time you make a savings deposit of just $25, you'll be entered into a monthly and quarterly prize drawing for a chance to win up to $5,000. All the money that piles up in your Save to Win account is yours to keep, along with the interest you earned, so there's never been a better time to get the ball rolling on your savings plan. With a Save to Win account, there's nothing to lose and everything to win. Open your 12-month Save to Win term certificate account and start saving today by visiting any of Palmetto Citizens' 14 branches across the Midlands, or go to palmettocitizens.org to learn more. Palmetto Citizens, proudly serving the Midlands since 1936. Account may be subject to penalty for early withdrawal. This credit union is federally insured by the NCUA.
Have a passion for serving children and families? Apply to become a child welfare case manager at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services.
Hey, this is Nikki Stengel, manager of the Nest Showroom. We offer a wide variety of affordable products in plumbing, lighting, and appliances, providing our clients with a unique and convenient place to shop. The Nest has product specialists on site to provide you the attention to detail and service you deserve. We believe in providing exceptional customer service and inspiring beautiful interiors and design, doing whatever it takes to get the job done. Come see for yourself. The Nest Showroom, located at 1331 Gadsden Street in the Vista.
I'm with Stephen Samuels of the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm. Stephen, what does True Injuries, True Lawyers really mean?
It means a lot. It means we help people with truly serious injuries, and our entire team will do whatever it takes to make it right. Even if your case is difficult, we have the resources and experience to go toe-to-toe with the big insurance companies. We've done this, and we've got you.
Samuels Reynolds. True Injuries, True Lawyers. 803-779-4000.
You haven't tasted real Carolina barbecue until you've experienced Little Pigs Barbecue. Full service dine-in buffet with barbecue, ribs, brisket, chicken, rice, hash, tomato pie, macaroni and cheese, and many more of your favorites. Eat in or take out. Little Pigs Barbecue on Alpine Road has new hours. Now open from 11 to 8 Thursday through Saturday and 11 to 3 on Sunday. Little Pigs Barbecue on Alpine Road. Little Pigs family looks forward to seeing you.
WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
The home of the national champion, Gamecocks women's basketball team. Congrats, y'all.
A Cumulus media station.
It's the Gamecock Central Takeover Hour.
With Chris Clark, Wes Mitchell, and Tyler Head.
On your home of the Gamecocks in Columbia.
107.5 The Game.
On 100.3 The Game in Myrtle Beach. And 100.5
The Game in Florence. Football Friday.
Sponsored by Brian's Heating and Cooling.
Brian's Heating and Cooling, where they take your comfort personally. Give them a call for all your commercial and residential comfort needs. 803-796-1788 or briansheatingandcooling.com.
The threat quarterback fakes inside. He wants to throw it under pressure. The Gamecocks are there. Does a fumble. Carolina picks it up at the 35. 10-5. Touchdown. Are you kidding me?
Football Friday
on the Game Network.
O'clock on your Friday morning. Welcome in Gamecock Central Takeover Hour, presented by Firehouse Subs. Tyler and Chris currently in studio. Wes coming in hot. A few minutes later than usual because he got tied up with something. We'll forgive him for it. I said we're going to give him the silent treatment when he gets here and see how long it takes him to catch on to that.